Ooh.
Hello, guys, and welcome back to Marauders TV. We have a special guest this evening. You'll notice underneath me on the screen is a gentleman not in an orange t-shirt. So we've been kindly, maybe accosted is a better word, Alex, who is the TO extraordinaire of the Carnage events, with the next one only 2 weeks away. Also joined by Gabe over this way, my seemingly co-host at the moment. So,
hi.
Right, let's get on. So, Alex, do you want to just quickly tell us a little bit about you before we start to talk about Carnage?
Hello. Well, I was born in Bury, which is a town in North Manchester. In terms of me and the hobby, so I actually had a massive break from the hobby and came back to it in 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
Just at the end of Age of Sigmar 1, I only had a couple of games of Sigmar 1 and massively back into it after a huge break. Went to loads of events and I kind of wanted to give it a go running my own, partly because it looked fun and also I quite like being a host. I guess my inner Monica Geller quite enjoys, looking after people, make sure everyone's having a good time. So I rolled the dice on it and did a quite small event at the Forge, which was well received. Built up to a bigger event in Christmas of 2019 and was due to start doing other events element when, lots of, COVID shaped shit hit the fan. So I'm not what I would call a long in the tooth TO. I'm no AD Mac, but it was a well received event, and I'm trying to pull out all the stops to make sure it's pretty exciting in a couple of weeks' time.
Well, definitely. Me and Tony went to the Christmas one. We didn't go to the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because your first one was in July of 2019, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah, off the top of my head.
Yeah. But he was just like, because it was at the Forge. Forge is quite a small venue, isn't it? Relatively, you had about 30, 40 players, something like that.
Yeah, it's tiny. So I think the second event was at capacity. Joe Purcell kindly lent a table of terrain so that we could do the event because the venue itself didn't have enough.
Okay.
Yeah, they were really good. I mean, the first one was quite quiet, which is really good for me because it was, the first time I've done it.
First one,
an absolute disaster. And I'm still doing it on my own. So 80 people is double plus a bit on the last iteration of it. So I'm a bit slightly trepidatious about the number of people. Fortunately, I know the majority of people who are coming. So I know it's going to be a bell end.
Yeah.
I hope. But it's still a lot of people to deal with and a new gaming system. So I'm a bit like that about how many questions and queries. Yeah, lots of rules stuff might come up. I mean, we've only had 3 lists in, and one of the ones we've checked sparked half a day of debate. So if that's anything to go by, it could be quite a lot of work. But in effect, once the rounds are up and running, it sort of looks after itself. So
definitely.
I mean, I must say, when Gabe and I were driving back on the Sunday, trophy in hand, I will just add, from the Christmas event,
I didn't have one.
It was very much straight away. I'm booking the next one of these. It had a good vibe. It felt well ran. It was friendly. It was a good bunch, but there was enough little quirks to the pack. I felt that it would just set itself like one step ahead, one step apart from the more General's Handbook in it kind of vibe. There's a bit more to it, which I really liked. So
did you prefer it a lot more to other events obviously you've been to? Do you think it's quite a
I think as I say, it was well run. Everything was nice. It was on time, etc. I think the fact that we'd come out of a period, or I certainly had, of quite heavy, just General's Handbook, straight out the book, out the box events. And this was, I think, really the first one that tried to do something a little bit different. I mean, we'll sort of come on to the pack because some of that sort of bled into this new iteration. But it was just enough different that actually, let's say, it set itself apart and it was an interesting challenge that no one else was really doing at the time. And I still think that's the case now. So
I try to strike a balance with it, really. I mean, as a player, if I really, really, really concentrate and don't drink anything, I'm all right. But when I go to events, I'm not really going to concentrate very hard most of the time, and probably going to have a few beers. And occasionally, and I know a lot of people will kind of understand this, you find yourself knowing that you're not going to get anywhere near the top 10 of an event, and sometimes feeling like you say, if you play an out of the General's Handbook event, you can sort of feel like there's not a lot in it for you. Or that the game's kind of become a bit two-dimensional, especially if you draw something horrible on game 4 or 5. I mean, I did that to someone at a GT once. I had a terrible first day, turned up to play a dispossessed army with Flesh Eater Courts when they were horrible on day 2, and that was it was a Warhammer World. So I know how that feels from both sides of the equation. I was a bit embarrassed, but I wanted to introduce elements to it that, even if you were kind of a bit pants, there were good little fun moments you could be gunning for, and elements of the tournament that were not just focused on the kind of competitive play side of things. If you want to do that's fine. It is all there. And obviously we've got pro trophies for first, second and third, and there's some really good players coming to this event and the one in October. So it's about balance, really. And I think from that, there's a good balance in the vibe as well, because there's something for everyone. No one's despondent because the people who are going there for a bit of narrative good time have still got something to play with. It's curious. I mean, the philosophy of it is I just want people to have fun. So I was throwing enough stuff in the pack that hopefully that there's something there for everyone.
Yeah, no, I would bow to that, and I think I mean we'll sort of, in fact, let's sort of have a look at the pack. I'm not going to put it on the screen. We'll talk in quite broad brushstrokes, I think. But we've kind of your introduction. We go and talk about health and safety and masks, timetables, etc. I mean that all seems fairly straightforward. There is a paragraph a little bit later on, actually, about be a decent human being section, which I think goes without saying.
Wait, what? I have to be a decent human being?
Yeah, sorry, mate.
Sorry, Gabe. Shall I go for the reserves list now?
So we are playing Age of Sigmar 3. We are 2,000 points, as expected. War scrolls as per the new General's Handbook, which I've got in front of me now, so we can reference if needed. So all that sort of bits. Now, in terms of changes, you've said artifact choice is limited to General's Handbook and faction battle tome. I'm not sure. Is there any that I'm missing? Is the core rule book? Is it just a catch-all?
Just an entirely redundant sentence.
Right.
In my brain, malign sorcery was still a thing, but
Okay. That's cool. It's just one that stuck out. I'm kind of like, I must ask you about it.
No, that is a hangover of it originally saying malign sorcery wasn't in play. As a list checking, gang, we may end up making a house rule about which of your artifacts must initially be picked from where, because I envisage a situation where the 5+ ward save amulet.
Yeah, amulet of destiny.
Yeah. The amulet of destiny is the new what was it? Aether Quartz brooch.
The ethereal amulet.
The ethereal amulet. Yeah. I mean, so far so good, but I don't imagine I think a lot of the series competitive players might put their lists in last, but we'll see. Again, my feeling on this is that within the realms of competitiveness, your army should still be reasonably thematic, and always picking the same, like, artifact from the same list that everyone else could use kind of just spoils that a little bit. But each their own, I'm going to say
I also think because it's a new rule set and a new edition, and people go, oh yeah, you'll find a lot of armies gravitating towards it, especially when you get like newer books come out and stuff like that. People gravitate away. It's like I think you found that with second edition with the Ethereal Amulet and stuff like that. A lot of people picked up, went straight for it straight away, and then things end up going away. They end up picking other things in the end when they realise. But it'll mainly just be certain armies, I think, to be honest. But I understand from a fun perspective, you don't just want to see the same thing on every bloody list. But
some armies have got really rubbish choices. I mean, I'm quite a Storm Cities of Sigmar player. I only have 3 choices for the majority of my cities in terms of an artifact, and some of those are pretty dreadful. For certain cities. So you can see it both ways. There's other armies that are just spoiled for choice, like Gloomspite Gits. I never really know particularly where to start with putting an artifact on a hero. Not that I ever play them because they're terrible. But that might get revisited for October. It's a dreadful thing to say, but I would say this rule pack is still a tiny work in progress, given that the new edition hasn't technically been tried and tested at a tournament yet. And there are some things that just haven't worked themselves out. I mean, there's no FAQ yet, so there's some things need to kind of go through that cycle of people having games before we know whether.
I mean, I was chatting on Twitter briefly today just about a slightly different scoring system, sort of putting difference of points, and I'm kind of like, well, actually, that one you can score 48, and that one you score 0. So you're like, actually, they're not all created equal when you start to. So, and I think things like that will sort of come out in the wash. So
100%.
So grand strategy is on your roster, which I think is going to be par for the course, isn't it? But the key thing here for people that are not following you on Twitter for some reason would be that the lists have to be in no later than midnight on the 23rd of July. So 9 days as we sat here today, but it'll be 8 tomorrow. So I assume if anyone wants to send them early and give you a bit of a heads up, that's okay. And if you spot anything, I assume that's going to be a polite, you might want to just have a look at that.
Yeah, I mean, if it's in, it's in.
Yeah.
The further away from that it's in, the more chance we've got to check it and make it okay. I think we've spotted one thing that we debated and actually decided was okay. And we just say it's my birthday on the 26th of July, so there's 1/2 less days for me doing any list checking or admin on this event prior to the 31st. We do have helpers, like I say, I've got Steve Curtis and Laurie HW are supporting me and Gabe to do the list checking, which is really great. Those guys, Gabe is at the event, Steve and Laurie can't make it, so they're kind of like list voyeurs, if you were, so they're surreptitiously getting their enjoyment from looking through everyone else's
mistakes. You insisted on the filth monger that's Gabe now to submit his list before everyone else, or are you going to let him do 40th list, 80th list?
I'm scouting everyone first before I have my.
Yeah, I figured you were.
If anyone hasn't played Gabe, honestly, I wouldn't worry about that. It's fine. He'll make some bad decisions and lose whatever you do.
Hey,
well, you did beat me the other day.
What else have we got? Because I've just run it. There we go. So we do need an army list. Now, you're just deleting stuff in the document as I'm reading through. I'll come back to that. Okie doke. So we are now. In fact, I'll talk about the realm rules. So in General's Handbook, you've got 2 special rules: Predator and Prey and Seismic Shift. You've got a spell, a realm command, and the core battalions. And you've kind of gone half sort of down the middle. So Predators and Prey is out, so no bonus points for killing monsters. Seismic Shift is in, which lets you remove objective points. Is that correct?
Right.
Spell is out, and the Realm Command is out. But the core battalions, so the Alpha Beast Pack and the Hunters of the Heartlands, are both fair play. Have I got that right in my head?
Yeah, so I've allowed the battalion, the two GHB battalions, and the objective removal game mechanic, but remove the command ability, spell, and predator and prey extra bonus point scoring. There's a few reasons for this. Firstly, everyone always bloody forgot them. Or one person forgot them, the other person didn't, then brought those kind of horrible things out at a pivotal moment. I especially remember that in Shaiish when we were playing in the Realms. It was a nasty spell. The other reason is we are playing a new edition at a tournament where the majority of people, I don't imagine they'll have a lot of games, and game administration is already quite a high bar.
Yeah.
So adding things in like, the monster scoring, it's an extra thing to remember that a lot of people might not have got their heads around yet. I did talk about it with your club mate, actually, Tom Maudsley, and he influenced me slightly to put the objective removal back in, because he pointed out that it is an important factor in the way a lot of those scenarios have been put together. So it's a consideration in the way some of those work. So that has remained in, and the battalion option remains in because it's part of an army interaction rather than part of game administration. So it's a little bit more sensitive.
It's a list right in, so once it's in, it's irrelevant. You don't have to remember it because it's built into this sort of thing.
It's you can then explain that to your opponent, as any of us would do if we were putting an army down. So it becomes less about, I remember this and you didn't, and more just about how your army's built. That might change for October. I think it's more likely to than not, to be honest, once we're all a bit more used to it. But for now, that just seemed like a good balance to strike with those new things.
Yeah. I think it's good for, you don't want too much bloat, especially when, obviously, you said a new edition, new game system and whatnot, basically. But also, you've got your own secondaries, haven't you? Which go towards tournament points, which, in addition to the in-game battle tactics, etc., might be a bit too much for some people. I understand that.
There's already
I didn't realise that the monster one, the extra point for killing monsters, had gone over those. So definitely taking my guard.
There you go. You've learned something too, mate. I'm not sure I've got any monsters in the list. I'm playing around. There you go. So I guess this is the next bit that's quite unique. I know you've been giddy to get this up and running, but how do you pick your missions or the battle plans each round?
Oh, he's going to bring it. Anyone who's not seen this on Twitter has either blocked me or muted me. But I, for the last edition, made the wheel. Now, the wheel is like the Wheel of Fortune wheel. It's a lot smaller than you might imagine it is. It's about the size of my head. I have got a massive head though. On the wheel, all the battle plans are noted, and in order to choose the battle plan, we will spin the wheel. I might allow someone, maybe the person who's on the currently bottom place on the strength of schedule, will spin the wheel, and we will play that battle plan. We won't repeat any, but we won't be influencing the results of the wheel whatsoever. I have got to repaint the wheel because it currently.
I was going to say, have you done that yet?
No. I've just had a holiday and come back with a mosquito bite on my penis and a second-degree burn on my elbow. Holiday. But at some point between now and the 31st...
How did you manage that? You've only got one.
I know. It's amazing, isn't it? What are the odds of that?
That's good going. I've never burned my elbow.
I was in a hot tub at the time. Work that one out. So that's how we're going to pick the battle plans. I did a tiny version of Carnage to see out AOS 2 at my house with some of the Buckinghamshire guys and a couple of my friends from Scotland, and we did use the wheel, and it was really good fun. And it gives no one an opportunity to swat up beforehand. Nice randomness factor. No one has to do any homework.
So is the plan that you're going to put the pairings up? They go, hi, my name's Tony. Hello, my name's Dave. And then we watch you and the wheel spin.
Oh, look to the wheel.
I like this. This is great.
Will we, just to add to that, will we have the first round draw before the event, or having it on the morning?
We'll do it on the morning as we all arrive. I will bellow across the room. My best Brian Blessed impression.
They do have the TVs can be hooked up to a electric device, so you can put them, on screens around if that's any use to you. Just as a
I'll probably do both. I just like shouting.
There you go. All right, so we like the wheel. Painting next. So
can we just have a word about novelty dice before we move on to painting? Novelty dice,
because the answer's always
no. No novelty dice.
Have we not covered that in Don't Be a Knob?
Yes, we have. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to painting.
Are those Carnage dice? Those bent Carnage dice that always roll 6.
They do roll really well.
Yeah, no. Pictures on the 6s, 6 sides, normal dice, all good. Yeah. So painting then. So we've got bare minimum, which is what you'd expect. So 3 colours based. Not much more than that is worth some points. And I believe you're removing models that fail to hit that various standard.
I reserve the right to do that.
Yeah.
I don't imagine that anyone will do it.
No.
I'll have a word. I can be a bit of a git, but that would feel like crossing a line. I might just dock some points at the end of the day. I don't want anyone playing with an under-strength army. That isn't permission to not paint your models, though.
No, it's, you should be.
Don't give them an inch, Alex.
So that's worth 10 points. And then we move into the Brucey bonuses. So there's a couple to sort of highlight here. So 5 points for themed objective markers built for your army.
I hate this one.
Hobbying. To be honest, I'd probably fall afoul of my own rule here because I don't have them for my current army.
Can I 3D print them?
Yeah, if you like. I'll send you over a little design. It is always nice to have. To be honest, I think this just encourages people to do something thematic for the army that's beyond the modelling. These are bonus points, so
yes.
You don't have to go. Yeah.
Well, back to that philosophy about there being something for everyone in the event. The absolute maximum number of painting points you could get is only just the equivalent of 1 win. So it might tip the event. It's probably fairly unlikely that it completely will do. Obviously we'll see it happen, but 80 players is not a massive amount. These are all fairly easy wins, to be honest.
So the next, just on the markers though, I always find this quite interesting because I'll always go through these because for me that's an easy 5 points. It doesn't take more than a couple of hours or that tops just to rustle something up that vaguely would work.
Does it say how many you need?
So it'd be enough for every combination of missions. So is it 5, 6?
I was going to say I can't do 6. That's
5,
6.
Is there a 6 one?
It used to be 8, didn't it? That's why it used to be.
Oh yeah, there is 6. Feral, Foray, and Power in Numbers. They are 6, so you need 6. But yeah, and then I tend to use those area markers anyway when I'm actually
Face hammer ones.
So I only do them and they sit there and get me some points. Yeah. Don't lose by 5 points for not doing them. That's the way, isn't it? The next thing is significant freehand painting. So banners, wall paint, cloak. So what would you say was significant for people that are in a notebook?
Significant. It needs to be evident freehand, not a transfer.
Yeah.
I can spot those a mile off. They don't have to be perfect. You just have to have given it a go. I think it's worth saying I'm not expecting, the Sistine Chapel painted on a pauldron. I know some people are capable of doing that. Not everyone is. If it's a little bit of orky daubing on a banner, bazzing. If it's, a little bit of kind of swirliness at the bottom of a cloak, lovely. If it's a face on a shield, ace. Doesn't have to be the world, just that extra little bit of kind of love given to your army. That's what we're looking for.
I mean, just so I'll give you an example. So the Christmas event, my Necromancer, which I sort of used from the cult, the I can't think what it's called now, Covenant Throne kit. So I basically did that and I built a base up with cork and then I painted a freehand rose on the back of his cloak. which I had to point out to you because I was like, no, there is, I promise. Turning round. So that would get you the 5 points.
Yeah, absolutely smashing.
It does. It doesn't have to be every model, one model with a decent chunk, and then okay, that's cool. So again, no real excuses not to pick that one up. 2 or more models are converted. Fairly straightforward. I assume weapon swap, head swaps all count as effort rather than.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be, a whole Ricky Smith like concept army of things that you've built from scratch and from the mind of a kind of borderline genius. A bit of head swapping, bit of arm swapping, fine. Okay.
And then this is your subjective, I guess, the one that makes you go, ooh. Oh, you do it way better than I do. There you go. So that's kind of your kind of catch-all. Like, do you know what? It might not have objective markers. It might not be converted, but by God, that's pretty. It's that sort of a thing, isn't it?
When I know, I'll know. I think I gave it to about a third of the armies at Christmas Carnage. So it's not like super duper standards, but sometimes an army just looks really cool.
So realistically,
I think it's poignant to point out that the person who got the best paint at Christmas Carnage was one of our fellow Marauders, Tom Blackthorne. I'm point that out there. With the gifts. He was, yeah.
They are lovely though.
Yeah, with the non-metallic metal on like the 120 grots, whatever it was.
Yeah. Insane, lovely.
So,
exactly.
I reckon then there's no excuse for everybody not to have 25 points for painting. It's fair, isn't it? I guess.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly achievable to get those 25 points.
And I guess if anyone's stuck, they can always throw a photo with the list and say, "Would this get me the points?" And you can always, I'm sure you'd be happy.
Yeah. A couple of people already sent me some armies. One of which is a absolute. I can't wait to see in person, but they were just checking that conversions were all, on Midori. So yeah, please do send me a message on Twitter if you're in doubt.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, so we then go into 5 rounds, etc. So I won't labour the point there. So points for the event then. This is how you win. So as you said, major win is 30. And that major win includes the, let me get one where it actually says it. So that includes your battle tactic, includes your grand strategy, and it includes your victory points all added together. And that gives you a major, minor, draw, minor loss, major loss.
Yeah, completely. So the philosophy I've gone with here is you can win a football match 6-1, but you're still only going to get 3 points for it. And that's the way this works. So all those things are encapsulated within the game to give you that set of points. I think we might see other tournaments do it slightly differently. And I'd be really curious to see how it works.
Yeah.
But that's how I'm going to run it.
Yeah.
Certainly for now, I think
that's right. I think that's the right way to do it anyway.
And we've also got this, which I really like. So if they draw on objective points, and the difference on destroy. In fact, does that count now? The destroyed unit bits. You'd have to add up VPs still, but if it's a small amount difference, then it's a draw, isn't it?
I'll have to look at the GHP about that.
I thought it was battle tactics. It was a draw, wasn't it? It's depending who got the most.
I'll review that because that might be something I overlooked when I went through it with the new GHP.
Oh, that's fine. I don't even think. I suppose if it's out of 5, I'll leave that one with you then. Complete the event sheet, hand it back, pack your army ready for moving, etc. And that is that. Now, this is the bit where you really diverge from General's Handbook. This is all Alex, as far as I'm concerned. And there's an extra 50 points over the full 5 games, so 10 per round. And that's split in half. So it's 5 points for scoring and 5 points for denying the secondary objectives. And you provide a list of these. There is more than you could ever score over a game, over the weekend, but you can't duplicate them. Is that
Yeah,
wildly correct there.
yeah. I can't claim entire originality for this because it has been done at Blood and Glory and Bloodshed and the Shires, very similar kind of systems with allowing and denying secondaries. But I've written all these for the event. There's 12 different ones. So, for example, number 2 is My Precious, which is to maintain control of one objective the entire game. Now, if you manage to do that, you get 5 points, and you deny your opponent 5 points for letting you do it.
Yep.
They can only be used once. So if you use that in game 1, you cross that out. There will be an event sheet that I'll design, which will have all these on, so you can easily mark them off when you've used them, and you've got another 12 to choose from. Some of them won't be relevant for certain armies. One of them is linked to casting. Another one's linked to priests. So if you don't have those in your army, you can't use them. Obviously, you can try, but you won't get it. That's 5 wasted points. So it gives you enough choice, and these don't have to be chosen until you get to the table and see your opponent's army. So it's at that point you can make the decision. If you think that you're going to be able to kill all their wizards, then you'll pick number 8 and suffer not the witch. If they've got Nagash and 2 vampire lords and zombie dragons, then I wouldn't pick that one.
So are these are chosen when you get to the table, not before any dice rolls?
Absolutely, yeah. So you've got the option of all 12 throughout the weekend until you've chosen one. You cross it off, and you've got the next lot to choose from. So it gives you a degree of flexibility. You obviously reveal these to your opponent as well. So they are actively trying to stop you doing this as well as all the other things within the game. So it just adds an extra dimension, and these will form the differential between the tiers of people, because as you can imagine, with 80 people, we're going to end up with 2 or 3 people at certain points on 3 wins, 4 wins. This will be what separates those tiers out.
Tiebreaker,
yeah. And there's a few. I quite enjoyed this side of it, for both scoring and denying. I think the Christmas one I did quite well on these, and I ended up. I don't know. I just picked them in such a way that I ended up with actual easier ones as the weekend progressed. And the first one I picked was quite hard because I hadn't read it properly, but I managed to do it, so it all worked out in the end. So things like only counts as 1, slay your opponent's highest point in Behemoth. If, for example, someone had multiples of the same, so someone had all Mega Gargants and it was all the same one, you kill one, you get that one anyway, wouldn't you? Because it's one of the highest. So it's stuff like that you can sort of save in your back pocket, I guess. And then denying your opponent is the other 5 points, so that's good. Battle tactics we've talked about. So best sports. Do you want to, for 25 points available for this, do you want to just talk us through your thoughts on how this one works?
This was an administrative nightmare last time I did it, and it'll be worse with 80 people, so I'm working on a better spreadsheet. So best sports is always a bit of a tricky one. I've been at events where there's been a bit of accusation of people kind of exchanging best sports votes in order to get them bumped up the table at the end of the event.
I wish.
I've never won best sports. Wonder why. In fact, I've been to an event where I didn't get a single point, but I'm blaming Johnny Armstrong for that because it was a doubles. So rather than just give one person your vote, you'll rank your 3 favourite opponents in order of preference. And if you receive someone's first place vote, you get 5 points. Second, 3 points. Third, 1 point. So you get to recognise 3 people you enjoyed playing rather than just one, which I think is really nice. And there's no necessarily massive advantage to exchanging that first place vote with the person you stood opposite, because there's huge amounts of other points available for your other games. Obviously, I'd prefer not to have anyone do that, and if I catch anyone canvassing votes, I'll deal with them the same way I deal with any kind of bullshit or discrimination or bad behaviour. It's just a nice way of doing it, and I think, again, from the list of people that are coming, I don't think there'll be any problems with this kind of thing. In fact, I think it'd be a really hot competition for who to give your best opponent to your favourite opponent to.
Okay. No, that's cool. I mean, yeah, I must say, looking down the list, it looks like it's a real good bunch of people going for this, so it would be nice.
So, other best sports, do they go into your tournament points? Do they affect your rankings? Yeah.
Yeah. But there's still only for the best sport, the most sporting. Excuse me. So yeah, there's 25 points potential on top of what you already get for your best sport. So if all 5 of your opponents were to rate you as their favourite opponent, that's 25 tournament points you're potentially going to get on top of that. So again, just under the equivalent of a full game for for being lovely.
Oh, okay.
Cool. Yeah, no, I think the fact that there's a spread built within it. So you might get 5 second places, for example. It's not quite as bad as others, and it doesn't equal a major win. So if you get 5 majors and someone gets all the sports votes on 4 majors, you're still going to beat them by 5 points, all else being equal.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, and then points make prizes, Alex. So we have got 1, 2, 3. Most sporting is in there.
Yeah.
And ties decided by kill points.
Yeah, we will still record kill points even though they're not the deciding factor or anything, because
okay.
I just like to use kill points.
That's fine.
Good to know. Yeah.
We've got best painted and best at being not very good. Oh, the pack is changing before my very eyes.
Sorry, I realised I deleted this by accident the other day when I was doing all this stuff. Judge's choice best painted. I will choose my favourite army because democracy is overrated.
Your event, right?
Yeah, I'm literally writing the rules. Best at being not very good is obviously the Wooden Spoon, who will receive a non-Warhammer related prize to suggest they try another game.
Yeah, I remember I went to, I'm going back donks ago now. In fact, I think it might have been 8th edition with Nigel over in Liverpool. And he finished dead last and walked away with like X-Wing starter set and all sorts of goodies. He's like, and then I finished like some mid-pack mediocrity, and you just kind of like,
The prize at Christmas Carnage was a lot better than the actual prizes at Christmas Carnage. Just back on secondaries, Tony, you only dropped 10 points on secondaries at Christmas Carnage. So you did really well.
Did I?
Yeah.
I got all of them, did I?
So the maximum amount for secondaries at Christmas Carnage was 50. You got 40. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, no, I just recall that I picked one by accident because I read it wrong and then got it in the first game. So I was like, sweet. But there you go. Okie dokie. So we've got best painted player vote with best painted judges, and thanks for playing. And then we have our usual reminders in the pack, which everyone reads, obviously. At least now everyone can go, I'm just going to watch a video and they'll tell me it. It's great.
I think you're the first person who's ever read the whole pack.
I always read the packs. Sometimes the night before, but still. In fact, I'm trying to think what I went to. Oh, it was a Marvel event. And the pack said you need to submit the results into this particular bit of software. So it's like 5 to midnight, and I'm messaging him like, "You've locked the event. No one can actually have anything." And he's like, "Bring it in the morning. It's fine." But no one else had even asked, clearly. So there you go. So fully painted army, copies of army list for opponents. Normal D6s, an appropriate amount and appropriate sizes, tape measures, wound markers, any counters and tokens and whatnot. And I will say that the Pro Painted Studios, Matt Lyons, he does custom sets. If you get them ordered when you watch this, so we're on Wednesday today, so if you're watching this Thursday, there's a good chance you might get them by the event. Highly recommended.
Worth it.
Yeah.
If you're a bit senile or drink a bit, they are unbelievably useful because I forget half of what's going on in most games. They're brilliant.
I mean, I shouldn't tell people because I write everything down in a book, as anyone that's played me knows. So I'm actually pretty good at that kind of memory game and keeping notes and ticking things when they've been used and whatnot. So I'm just, but no, they are. And I've had a custom set built, which I might get to use if all goes to plan. Any rules? So either through the Azir, like the old app, because the books and scrolls are still current in there because we haven't got the new app yet, or hard copies. If there are any scrolls being used, you can. They're free on the Games Workshop website, which is fair enough. In fact, what I've done for Caitlin's Nurgle. She's got the War Scroll cards, and we've actually crossed off the weapons that she'd not built.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So rather than looking down and there's like 5 or 6 things, it's like, no, you haven't got that. So we put a nice thick black line through it. So she just sees the 3 things that are actually on the model. Same with rules as well. And
there is a chap on Twitter, and I'll try and retweet it later this evening, who does really nice little PDF files you can download and print out and laminate if you're into that sort of thing.
Yeah.
If you want little reminder cards of like army abilities and want the detail, that like the pro painting stuff's great for like an on the table reminder once you've cast a spell. The actual detail of the spell is great. I used to have those for my Skaven because I missed the boat with getting those War Scroll cards and all the sponge brain.
Yeah, I think so. You've got AOS reminders, which I believe is up to date. I think, and that tells you, start of phase, end of phase, any time in the phase. So that's really good. And if you're doing custom scrolls, there's actually a template that you can download from Games Workshop itself in the community downloads. It's an editable, but in the same format as a War Scroll, so you can copy and paste and do what you want with that. I've got some custom War Scrolls that I've just sort of reworded the flavor text, but kept the actual rules text.
Just a bit narrative to me.
Because your army's quite thematic, isn't it, Tony? If you're bringing what you alluded to the other night, it's
completely
not you.
No, every model is named and everything. It's great.
I know.
It's not goblins.
It's not goblins. Where's Tony gone?
I sent it to Tom. Like, is this actually any use?
Right now?
But I didn't send him the one with all the characters' names and unit champion. And then I think the only thing I'd say that's not in here is Element Games. That's right at the top.
It's right at the top.
There is an on-site bar at Element. So bring some cash, credit cards, or whatever, because you probably want to buy yourself a drink at some point.
Yeah, I'm feeding you. There's another thing I'd mention. So it's a slightly convoluted story, so I won't bore you with the details. At the moment, I've got an army I painted for when I was doing commission painting. It was bought and paid for. The person who bought it, I don't know if he's comfortable being named, but I will do on a later date if he is, decided that he would end up divorced if he brought it into the house, and is in a financial position to have just said, you keep it. I'm not going to resell it because that seems immoral. What we agreed we would do is raffle the army for charity, and as many of the profits as I can afford to give away from Carnage, I'll be giving the money to charity. It's a really nice white armored Stormcast army. Now, given they're just about to get a new codex, this seems quite apt. So I'll be selling $5 a pop, a ticket to get this army. 100% of the money from that will go to a charity. I'm not taking any money from models. It's all effectively being paid for. So I'll bring it on the day. I'll set it out. If Stormcast aren't your bag, fine. But it is all going to a charity, probably an NHS charity or a one-armed person charities, because I've got one arm. There is a charity for one-armed people, by the way. It's the worst named charity in the world. It's called Reach.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know. Might as well have called it Clap.
That's a different charity. That's a very different thing.
Yeah, I just realised what I said there. My opinions on charities aside, that's an objective. I'll throw in some more prizes as well from massive pile of potential. So there's quite a lot for you to have a shout out there, but it's just seemed like the right thing to do given the year everyone's had to do something nice.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So, can people buy tickets if they're not at the event? Just in case someone's watching and goes, "Oh, that's quite nice."
TBC. I'm not going to say no. I just need to work out a neat mechanism for me doing that, because I do also have a job. So the administration does, at this point in an event cycle, tend to get quite heavy.
Yeah.
The other thing that's worth saying, at this point in time, there is one spot available at the event. So there's been as is expected, a little bit of a round of people checking calendars and having events booked in over the top of it. So the reserve list is depleted. There's one open space, and I'd imagine there'll probably be a couple more before the 31st rolls around. So if you didn't get a spot, you fancy it, or that weekend is now free, then do drop me a line on Twitter. We'll see what we can sort out.
Okay, that's cool. And what else have I've noticed? So you've got any questions are going directly to your Gmail, is that right? Or do you want the other one at the top from the top?
I mean, just send one of my email addresses. They all go to the same inbox, effectively. The best way to get in touch with me is always Twitter, which is @AJGhostarm. So if you want to drop me a quick message and ask about tickets, I'm obsessive about Twitter, so please get on there. If you blocked me because you don't like my opinions, of which I have many, do just email me. You're still welcome at the event. If you've not blocked me and I've not blocked you, then that's fine. We can still be friends.
Yeah, exactly. But just don't bring your concept armies. Yeah.
Does that? Fill that box now.
Is that another styrofoam hill you're dying on there? Yeah.
No comment. One thing I think Tony's missed is it still the Flump Award for like the most like narrative, like you have a pretty army list and whatnot? No,
I've been that.
No?
It was hard enough with 28 players. I can't do it with 80. It was a nice idea.
Fair
it's
enough.
Not practical.
Fair enough.
Right, so I think we've covered everything through the pack. We know the vibe is pretty, from competitive all the way down to narrative, and the people that prop up both extremes are well catered for in this. There's plenty to play for with the secondaries on top of the actual missions itself. And the fact that you can score and deny those means you're still potentially scoring points, even though you might not be winning the majors. So, there's loads of stuff that you can play for in there, which is really good. Have you got any closing thoughts, Alex, that you want to just put across before we wrap up?
Other than that, I'm just really excited to see everyone, and I really want everyone to have a good time. I'll probably end up getting quite emotional, just a warning. There's a very, very good chance I'll cry, because I might be an angry little man, but I am also quite an emotional little man. So that's going to happen.
So if you want to see Alex cry, there's one ticket left.
Yeah.
Or we'll bring a concept army, and then I'll make you cry.
There you go.
Yeah. Have you got any predictions for winners of the tournament?
Oh yes, we were speaking about this, weren't we?
So from the attendee list, hang on, I've got it here. And there are some lovely names on here. Obviously, Tony's going. Tony knows what he's doing with an army, although I've seen his potential list and I'm not sure it's very good.
It's going to be great.
Speckles makes out that he's rubbish, but he has placed all right at some events in the past. Yeah. He's not a terrible shout.
Mr. Maudsley, come on. Mr. Maudsley's got to be the favourite. A lot of pressure on that guy.
To be fair, I reckon it's Tom's to lose.
Yeah, it has to be, yeah.
Dan George from the Bucks guys has done well at events in the past. In fact, he was only not on table one for one game at the Christmas Carnage event.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
He's been running Sons of Behemoth a lot recently and doing really well with him. He absolutely battered me at my little mini event, although I wasn't particularly concentrating, not that I ever am. So yeah, I think they're my topics. Mike Browning, also a Bucks guy. He's placed before. Did quite well at Blackout a year or so ago. And I think Toby Meadows is going. Yeah, Toby Meadows. Who's also.
Oh yeah, Toby's a good player. Yeah,
Toby's very good. He did really well with the a Stormfiend heavy Skaven army around at the end of AOS2. So they'd be my ones to watch. But I totally agree, Tony.
But Richie's going as well, isn't he? Is Richie still going?
Richie's going to
in the October one, isn't it?
October. Yeah, October's a bit of a different kettle of fish because you've got
that's a Shark Tank October. This one feels a little bit.
It's much more friendly. Yeah, you've got Joe Purcell, you've got Tony's going. Adam Kunis is also very good. Who else have we got at that event? Yeah, we've got the names going there. We've got almost the entire Just Play back catalogue of Wargamers going. So yeah, October will be a little bit more.
But also, I mean, we sort of bounced some messages around. I think the meta's not set anywhere near settling right now because we're all still in our own little bubbles, looking at our own lists, and for the most part, I mean, there is some serious people that have net listed the whole thing, but I think this will probably make whatever does well here will kind of dictate the meta going forward, but I think it'll be a lot more settled come October.
And the anti-meta, of course. I think whatever takes top 3 places, that's what people are going to focus on. That's what I've got to beat. I'm really curious. I think there's some really strong contenders for what's going to be in that little top bracket. But it's anyone's guess right now. I think Sons of Behemat, Soulblight, Seraphon, Lumineth, all really, really strong.
I think Ogres could do really well as well.
Yeah, a bit of Beast Core Raiders. They look. There's loads coming, but I haven't seen a game with them. Not that I watched a lot of battle reports. I'm sure they're out there. It'd be really interesting. I think Russ Veal is going to be around on the day doing some little mini video reports for Facehammer. So if you are interested in following along, then he's probably quite well. Follow Facehammer and follow Russ because they'll be coming out on the day and keeping people up to date. I will obviously try and tweet out as much as I possibly can.
Yeah. It's hard though when you're entertaining 80 people and lists and admin and all the rest of it. So
entertaining. Yeah, there's a lot of in between rounds. I hope I get a half hour to just tweet out what's going on, but it may be that given there's so many people, I can't. There we go. But yeah, 2 weeks. Very excited.
Cool. And I say we're gonna as a club we're pretty well represented, so we're gonna put some videos together talking through the lists that we're taking, the whys and hows, etc. Going through all the names that we've given our characters, and
7 Marauders so far.
7.
7. I think you're one of the best represented. One of the third best represented clubs. Buckinghamshire Wargame Collective have got 12 coming down.
Yeah.
Which is nuts. Yeah, and then Marauders, Essex, Moor Tribes, and the Dragon Slayers have all got 7 apiece.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we'll be putting content through the channel as we get closer, and then I think you're gonna pick your favourite lists after submission, aren't you, Alex, and ping them across so that sort of chat through and anything that sort of jumps out as just being like, oh, that's cool, that's interesting, and we'll.
So me and the other list elves will pick our top tip for the tournament, take the tournament, and a wild card that we actually think is just a really interesting list. I'll let you talk through those, Tony. I think between the 4 of us, we might all pick very different things.
Yeah, that'd be quite good. I might try and get Maudsley on for that as well, because he's a little bit more on the pulse with it at the moment than myself. So, right, well, thank you very much. Gabe, do you want to close us out? Because I can never remember what you need to press.
Oh yeah, you need to like, subscribe, and share the video. And if you like this, we'll keep doing more content. And stay tuned for more content regarding Carnage, which is in 2 weeks. So
yeah,
2 weeks.
Yeah. Excellent.
Guys. See you later.
Thanks, Ali.
Have a nice evening, boys. Thank you.
Bye.